Welcome to My Crazy, My Rules, where I feel every story deserves a voice and I give a voice to your story. My name's Benn Shannon. I'm your host. So why don't you grab a cup of coffee, sit down, relax, and let's take a look at our next story. But today, before I do that, this story is from Sara in Baltimore. And what Sara did is sent us a letter about her challenge and her fight of having breast cancer. And with this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I thought this is perfect. And actually, after I did this, I have received some other letters dealing with the same thing. So I'm starting with Sara's. But before I do, what I wanted to do was bring up some of the facts about breast cancer that honestly I didn't even know. Globally, there will be 2 million new cases in women annually. 2.3 million. With in 2022, there was 670,000 deaths. This is not something that people are just trying to raise funds for because they want to raise funds. This is a very serious issue. The first episode I did for this podcast, I talked about my mom, and her trouble started with breast cancer, and she had a double mastectomy, which was crazy, and then it was actually taken care of. She was clean, but then she developed kidney cancer and some other ones, and that was because of her weakened system. Since 1989, breast cancer mortality in women declined. And one of the reasons it declined is because of the Susan B. Komen Foundation. They did a lot of work as far as taking funds from what they collect. Now, what's so nice about Susan B. Komen, it's not federally funded. It's funded by you. It's funded by the people. So when whoever happens to be in office, without getting political, decides I'm going to cut funds for a lot of research, they're not touched. They have their own system of doing it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about them towards the end of the podcast. One of the things, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of disparities in the demographics for having breast cancer. And I didn't know this. And yesterday I was actually in Starbucks talking with a manager, and we were talking about the podcast, and she goes, "Well, what do you need when somebody writes a letter in?" And I said, "Well, I look for letters not just about breast cancer, we were talking about that, but about anything where people have a challenge or something went really well for them or something went very horrible for them and they just want to share it." And she goes, "Okay, I'll write you one." And I'm like, "Well, what are you writing about?" This is a maybe late 20s, early 30s manager and looks perfectly healthy and everything. And she says, "Well, I have stage 4." And I literally could not respond to what she was saying because I was so blown away. So I will be looking for hers, but there is a thing that black women in the U.S. have mortality rates 40% higher than white women, and they tend to be diagnosed much younger with more aggressive types. And Hispanic women are more likely than white women to be diagnosed at later stages. So those are some just quick facts about it. It's something that's been going on for so very long, and we're all very aware of. So I will talk more about Susan B. Komen at the end of this episode. But why don't we go ahead and let's open Sara's letter and let's listen to that now. You've got your coffee, you're sitting back, you're relaxed. Okay, let's see what we have. Now, a little bit about Sara. I know Sara from Baltimore. She is actually in my family tree, is the way I'll say it. She is amazing. This is one of the most caring people I know. Her and her significant other did so much caring for my mom when she was alive. They were the ones that my mom relied on a lot. Whenever there was something going on, they offered to take her. They would pick her up, take her back home, take her out to lunch. They just made my mom's quality of life a whole lot better. Even when she was fighting this battle, she was still taking care of my mom. So to begin with, I have to say thank you so much for the love and the caring that you gave to my mom. So Sarah sent me this letter. On my birthday, Saturday, September 30th, 2017, I invited family over for breakfast. This is the ending of the fasting period of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. As people were arriving, I noticed pain in my left breast as I was receiving hugs, which I presumed was likely a cyst because although it had been years since I had any, I was prone to benign breast cysts since my teens. As it was not weighing greatly on my mind, I didn't remember to call my breast surgeon, whom I had been seeing for years because I tend to be cystic, until Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017. He was not available, so I saw his PA the following day on Wednesday, October 4th, 2017. She was rather certain that the lump I felt was indeed a cyst, and since I was already scheduled for my yearly mammogram in January 2018, she got me scheduled for a mammogram on Friday, October 6th, and said that the January 2018 appointment would be a routine follow-up. Friday, October 6th, 2017, my dad's birthday, would be the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I got a little antsy when, after the mammogram was done, the tech came out and said that she needed another couple of views, probably because I have dense breast tissue. However, after the additional views were taken, a radiologist came out to speak with me and informed me that she saw something that she would like to needle biopsy. She caused a lot of pain doing this procedure, which I had in the past but was simple and never painful. To this day, I'm convinced it was her technique. After that was done, the head of interventional radiology came out, who I loved from the moment I saw her walking around earlier that morning, even before I knew I was going to meet her or need her. She told me that she was concerned about the lump and recommended a stereotactic biopsy. Normally, these need to be scheduled, but because, because she could see the fear in my eyes, she was able to juggle the schedule for that day so that it could be done that day. I immediately called my brother, who is a medical oncologist. He was about to go into a meeting, but between his schedule and the radiologist, they were able to schedule time that worked for both of them. My cousin happened to call during the time I was waiting for this stereotypical biopsy appointment, and from the moment I answered her call, she was able to tell that something was wrong. She argued with me to confide in her, which I finally did, and it seems like only minutes later, she showed up at the hospital. After the biopsy, the radiologist took the three of us into a little room to talk. She told me that sometimes she's wrong, but more times she is right. And in her opinion, I likely had breast cancer. Suddenly, the room felt even smaller. The air seemed a little more thick, and I felt that I was on one side of a wall and everyone else was on the other side, and they were going to live. I prayed in my own way all weekend. However, on Monday morning, October 9th, 2017, while working, the call came through. Sara, unfortunately, you do have breast cancer. I fell apart when I got that call, the call that confirmed I had breast cancer. My office mate, who had been my coworker for the past 31 years, but whom I was never really close, although for the most part we were cordial with one another most of the time in later years, and who definitely was not one you would call touchy-feely, immediately got up out of her chair, wrapped her arms around me, and asked me whether it would be okay if she prayed for me and with me. Being that I am Jewish and she is Pentecostal, at that moment it made no difference. I'd take any prayers and as many prayers as I could get. And at that moment, we stood in the middle of our office with the doors closed as she held me tight in her arms, We both closed our eyes, and she prayed out loud in her words to her God. And strange as it may sound, I felt a release like none other I have ever felt, as though 1,000-pound weight had been lifted off my body. There were other times we prayed together when the need arose. Although these moments did not happen often, I felt so comfortable asking if she would pray with me as she had previously done, and she did without hesitation. And although I have not thought about these moments in years, as I write this story, I am in awe with such gratitude for what she did for me. Thanks to my brother, who is an oncologist, moments when I was being explained about the specific type of cancer I had, or the treatment recommendations, or the prognosis of my type of cancer, or when I felt unsure of my mortality, I felt more at ease with my condition, as my brother called it. And thanks to two very dear friends, one of whom was more of a new friend at the time, but both who were breast cancer survivors, my comfort level about my cancer increased. And thanks to many other friends and the doctors and nurses who made up the various teams, from consultations, genetic testing, surgeries, and a full year of chemo and immunotherapy infusions, I felt very positive about my condition. And I found that I was actually thankful for my cancer because it taught me so much about appreciating life and people. And it made me realize that the little things that would normally bother me were just not worth it. I am one of the lucky ones. My cancer, while being a more advanced type that before the 1990s would have likely been a death sentence, after the immunotherapy drug that was invented in the late 1990s, it now has one of the highest success rates of no recurrence after 7 years, especially with the lower stages of cancer. I was stage 1, HER2, HR receptor negative, which was a blessing because my prognosis was very good. That is what I've always mentioned to people as to why it may be easier for me to be upbeat about my cancer. But then I had several friends who tell me that I shouldn't downplay my confidence, that I still had cancer and I still had to fight a battle, and I should be proud of that, and that it was my attitude that got me through the tough times, not just the low stage. I should be proud of myself. Proud of myself? I never really think about that. Just as I've never asked, why me? Especially since I'm the only one in my family to have ever had breast cancer. Because what difference does it make? I had it. My doctors say I no longer have it. I certainly am the better because of it. And I am truly thankful for it in that it provided me with insight that some people really never find. And I suppose I am blessed because of it. Do I still have anxiety about certain things in my life at certain times? Sure. After all, I'm only human. If God forbid it happened again, would I be as brave? I don't have the answer. But at this time in my life, I can find comfort in my morning prayer and the blessing of the two wonderful children my husband, God rest his soul, or as we say in the Jewish faith, Alav HaShalom, and I created, and my beautiful, sweet grandbaby, and my partner, and my dog, and my friends and others who have entered my life. And I continue to pray that I shall live until I am 120. Sarah, First off, I will pray that same thing for you. 120, at least 120. Your letter absolutely touched me, and thank you so much for allowing me to give a voice to your story and a very personal and touching story you wrote. And I will agree with all your friends and relatives and your significant other. Don't make less of it. You did have cancer. You had to go through surgery. You had to go through immunotherapy. This took a lot of strength. And what amazes me about you, and we talked a little bit about this letter and about how long it took, is that through the entire time, from what I knew, you were still helping others. As others helped you when they found out that you had it, you were in touch helping others as well. I talked to you, and I called you about this letter, and you told me, oh, I just got back from doing my walk for the Susan B. Komen Walk for Breast Cancer, and I thought that was amazing. You put yourself out there, and Susan B. Komen Foundation is amazing. And it started more as a after Susan B. Komen passed away, and I believe it was 1982, her sister started this organization, and it was more to eradicate cancer. That was the idea. Let's get rid of cancer. But it grew into, okay, this isn't going to happen overnight. Let's go ahead and set things in place to help with it. Let's do our own research. Let's do our own fundraising. Let's have people that can talk to the females or the males. Most people don't know that a male, and I'm going to use some of the terms that today's youth use because I want to get this across to everybody. A male, a cis male, a male that was born a male that is strictly a male, can get breast cancer. They don't have to have had breast enlargements. They don't have to have had therapies. They don't have to be trans. A male can get breast cancer, and they do, and they die from it. So it is not just the females, even though predominantly is the females, it can be males as well. So, number one, I can't tell you, Sarah, how much I appreciate this letter and how much I was touched by it. But this being October, this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, let's talk just another minute about the Susan B. Komen Foundation. And as I get older, yes, I need paper to remember what I need to talk about. So Susan B. Komen died at the age of 36 from breast cancer. And her sister did start the foundation in 1982. And to this day, they have, in 1982, since 1982, they have done over $1.1 billion in breast cancer research. $1.1 billion. And where do they get the money? They got it from you. They got it from people like you. They got it from people that are doing the walk. They got it from organizations. You can actually just call the Susan B. Komen Foundation and say, hey, I want to have a fundraising event, and they will help you do that. And they will set it up so that you can have people go online and donate right during that from your fundraiser that you have going on. Now, what's really neat to me, and I'm going to definitely find out more about this, their headquarters is right here in Dallas, Texas. And I will tell you, when this episode is over today, unfortunately, I have to do the radiator on my car, but tomorrow I am going to go down there and find out what else can I personally do to help them out. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this one. They are not just in the United States. Susan B. Komen is all around the world because this is not something that is just in the United States. This is something that affects women and men all around the world. Now, Susan B. Komen has, excuse me, a number of programs and initiatives. They have the Race for the Cure, the 3-day, excuse me, patient care and helplines, advocacy and public policy. They have grant making and research funding. So, before I close today, I'm going to leave you with this. My Crazy, My Rules is proud to stand with the millions fighting breast cancer and to help shine a light on the people and the organizations that refuse to give up. Every 2 minutes, somewhere in the world, a woman hears the words, "Yes, you have breast cancer." Behind every statistic is a mother, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a friend, and they have people that love them. The Susan G. Komen Foundation has been fighting this battle for over 40 years, funding research, helping patients get care, and giving hope to families who need it most. If you've ever wondered how you can make a difference, this is one of those moments. You can go to Komen.org/donate to give directly online. You can donate in memory of someone, in honor of someone, or even set up your own fundraiser, a walk, a tribute page, whatever feels right to you. And if you'd rather talk to a person, their number is 1-877-GO-KOMEN to donate by phone. Excuse me. They take and they do not take your money like many other organizations and drop most of it back into the higher people. Over 80% of every dollar you give, over 80 cents, goes to the projects, not to the pay. So, if you've been moved by today's episode, do something about it. Go to Komen, KOMEN.org/donate. And why don't you try to be part of the reason where somebody says, instead of, "Yes, you have breast cancer," they say, "Yes, you are now cancer free." And I am going to change one thing that I've been saying this whole time. I kept saying Susan B. Komen, and I meant to be saying Susan G. Komen. So my apologies. I thank you so much for tuning into this episode of My Crazy, My Rules. Instead of trying to get subscribers for my own channel today, I'm going to tell you thank you for the ones that have been just subscribing. But I can almost talk today. So thank you for the ones that have been subscribing, sharing, and liking. And I hope to see you back next week, where we do have a story from an amazing paramedic who worked at Children's Hospital in the ER, and he tells us a story about a drowning victim. So I look forward to sharing that with you. If you have your own letters, please send them to letters@mycrazymyrules.com, and I will get them, and we will get them on the air so that we can give your story the voice that it deserves. Thank you.